Welcome to the stand. When we stand for God, He stands for us. As young people, it's hard to get a job nowadays. It's even harder when, you're a Christian. So, guys, the question I pose is, can we as Christians do any job?
I don't think so. I think there's some jobs that will always conflict your beliefs or your values. So you have to stay away from those occupations and make sure you find something else that's suitable to a Christian lifestyle.
But why? I mean, what kind of jobs can a Christian do and can't do?
Well, for example, I look at the commercials, the late night ones where the girls are inviting you. Sometimes it's men now, but mostly it's women inviting you to call them in a seductive manner. And as a Christian, I cannot advertise that kind of product because I'm selling something that goes against the Word of God.
Yeah, even furthermore, I think I can bring in two really more home-like examples about myself, personal experiences. Very first one is, as most of you guys here know, I'm into music and stuff like that. I've gone to school for music. Very common thing, especially within the church. We all know there's a lot of people. Every second person has a beautiful voice, can sing, really good musicians and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In the music industry out there, it's very hard because once you get to a certain level, you're compromising so many things. There's gigs on Sabbath that you're usually having to do. You might have been in church singing about, I love the Lord, but now your songs are moving a little bit more towards I love you. Who are you talking about? That kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's one example.
It has the word love in it, so.
Yeah, exactly my point. Another really good example is my actual profession now. I work in sales, and we're talking about the concept of maybe lying by omission. Just to further a little bit more what I mean by that. When you're in sales, you're pushing a certain product, whatever X product is and stuff like that, and the company wants you to push it in a certain way. And there's nothing wrong with the way sometimes the company wants you to push it, but sometimes you might be leaving certain things out in order because it's a competitive market. I'm supposed to make a certain amount of sales on a monthly basis, and if I have to sell X amount of this, and the company wants me to do it a certain way, and I say to the customer, hey, customer, I have this wonderful product here, this is what it does, and I didn't tell them that if they do this, that this is what's going to happen. Realistically, I'm lying by omission because I'm not telling them, So those are two really good examples of, problems that we face as Christians in terms of work and stuff like that.
But if you have faith in God, could you be 100% honest in that occupation and still make sales or even more than your coworker?
That's a good question. I mean, for me, if we're talking about my specific job, like I've by God's grace, I've been able to keep it up until this point, and I'm a very, I'm one of those people that I will tell you the truth. Not for everybody, but at the same token, it also, I've been suffering in sales because there's a lot of people who are doing a lot better than me, and there's a lot of months where my bosses actually come down on me and say, hey, you know what, you're not cutting it, and I'm going to give you X write-up and stuff like that. So for sure, at this point, I can safely say it's by God's grace that I've been able to keep my current employment,
So what if your employer asks you to work on your day of worship? Like, what do you do then? This is something that so many people face,
Common,
yes. How does your beliefs, how strong are your beliefs, and what value you put on them, when it comes to, your day of worship?
Well, I think first we need to, make note that there are some positions that are very essential. I mean, we have nurses, doctors, firefighters, and policemen. If they all decided to take a day off, you better make sure your house doesn't burn down, you don't get sick, you don't almost die.
I could just tell my disease. Okay, let's wait one day. The doctor's not working today, so.
I think it's very important, like going one more time back to what I was talking about. It's very important that we realize when you're going for a specific job, you have to be very clear as to what your position is. You know what I mean? When I was going for my job, I knew I was going into sales, But at the point where I went and I spoke to, my boss, I said, listen, I really want to do this job, but this is what I believe, and I would like to not work on this day. Now, my job was not one of those essential jobs that you're talking about, but at the same time, it at least enabled me to have that clear conscience, because if they really want me for the skill set that they want me to do, they know where I stand. And I think that's a very important point for us to bring out.
I think also what we need to make sure and understand that even though you may have an essential job, is that, it doesn't mean that you don't stop trying to get your day of worship off. There are times where people say or may think that, because I have my essential job, it's okay for me just to work on my day of worship. Whereas, and not even try to think or say that, maybe like I should try to, even though I have this essential job, and even though it's really important, let me just try to see if I can, make sure that I put my full effort into getting that day off, right?
Yeah.
And it's very important. And also, I think what we should also consider as well is, our fellow Christian brothers and sisters that may have to work or may work on their day of worship. We shouldn't condemn them, right? Because it's so easy to condemn them. But we should also maybe think about, just praying for them and seeing that maybe, that they're able to get a better job or be in a better position that they can, better observe their day of worship.
Yeah, so not to cut you off there, but it boils down to, our personal relationship with God, if you're talking from a Christian perspective, you know what I mean? Because when you're talking about condemning people and stuff like that, we definitely don't want to do that, but we don't know what a person's situation, and it is like, the people out there who are probably listening right now are thinking to themselves, you know what, man, the times are tough and I really need to work. You know what I mean? And some of the jobs that they're actually doing are very important. That's why I said it's very, very important for us to kind of know where we stand, to try and build that relationship with God, so that when we go for a job, you're putting that before the Lord, going into that interview confident that if that job is for you, the Lord will work things out in your favor, and that at the end of the day things will be okay. Because if not, you're going to run into problems, eventually.
Yeah. And the thing is, when we go into the Bible, the Bible talks about how we should do everything to the best of our ability. In Ecclesiastes 9 verse 10, it says, whatever your hands find you to do, do with all your might. Right. Okay? And as Christians, we need to make sure that we, no pun intended, have a stand. Okay?
Sure.
Especially, in what we believe in, right? And I draw from this verse, and it's a very powerful verse. It's Deuteronomy 31 verse 6. It says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you, and he will never leave you nor forsake you." Yeah. Now, the question is where do you stand? I want to thank our panel for discussing this topic with us today, and I also want to remind you guys that we encourage you to leave your comments and anything that you want to say in the comments below, and also on our Facebook and YouTube page, and those links are listed below in the descriptions. And if by chance you guys have a topic or something you want us to talk about, we encourage that too. So, feel free to let us know what you guys think and what you guys want us to mention or talk about, right? And as for now, all I want to say is thank you for watching and God bless.